Good day, everyone. Composer99 here, and welcome back to Axis Empire's Totaler Krieg. In this video, we're going to play through the autumn 1943 season, the second season of Total War. All right, where are we? There's our turn track. Here we go. So, first things first, actually, let's close that for a second. First thing we should do is our seasonal victory check. Now that some objectives have changed hands, things will have changed here. So, the Axis faction controls 5 Western hexes: Paris, Brussels, Oslo, Athens, and Cairo, and 2 Soviet hexes: Minsk and Kiev, for a total of 7 Allied strategic hexes. Now that the Axis have retaken Bucharest, all Axis strategic hexes are either in Axis hands or in neutral countries, so the Allies currently control 0 Axis strategic hexes, giving us a strategic count of +7, which brings us to 2 VP Axis tied. 2 VP Axis tied was the historic Axis high water mark. In a historical playthrough, the Axis would take Sevastopol and Rostov, but would not have Cairo. And that would get them to 8 strategic count, or strategic value, and as I said, 2 VP Axis tied. In this playthrough, it's reasonable to think the Axis might take Rostov or Sevastopol, or both, and get to 3 VP. We're going to have to see. They have lost a lot of time fighting their way through forts. But the Soviets, because they peaked out early with their limited war production, they're looking a little short-handed, although they're about to get a whole bunch of steps over the next few turns, so that might help them. Let's carry on. Axis faction turn during their seasonal phase. They are going to reveal their new current card, Operation Typhoon. There's nothing that happens during the option card segment, so all they're going to do is pick a new pending card. Because we want to play Case Blue in the summer, they have to play Spear-Pointed Minister, and before that, card 31 mobilization limits. So they have to pick mobilization limits as their pending card. So they have to swallow a poison pill over the winter before they can get to their big offensives next summer. Then they have their replacements: 1 Panzer and 6 infantry steps. There's a decent chance we're going to take some Panzer step losses, so that's going to have to go to the eastern front, the Panzer step. Infantry steps will have to be spread out a little, I think. Most of them can probably go to the eastern front. We do want 1 to go to Amsterdam to replace the mountain step here that we're eventually going to want to send to Finland. And we want another infantry step to send to Narvik, I think. So that's 2 infantry steps for the western front, 1 Panzer step for the eastern front, which we should probably send kind of in the southern direction. And we want, actually we'll put it back there. We want to have, we have 4 infantry steps. 3 after placing that one. Do we want to send any infantry steps anywhere else just yet? I don't think we need to, although we are eventually going to want to have Germans also in Sicily defending the beaches, and maybe some of these key city hexes in Italy. We are eventually also going to need German units to occupy the rest of France. We have these 3 cities, Lyon, Marseille, and Toulouse, that we are going to need to occupy. We'll probably want a German unit sitting in Montpellier as well to keep the Allies from walking in somewhere. We're unlikely to need Germans in Greece, although that may change once the Western faction finally kicks us out of Egypt. But we'll see. Of course, we're going to need a lot more infantry fighting on the eastern front as well, but we only have so many steps right now. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll probably be able to constitute another multi-step unit, and that will do. Oh, before I forget, we have our minor country steps. We may place one Italian step and one step of someone else. We're going to go ahead and put an Italian there to go into Sicily. The next time we get to place an Italian step, I think we have to place it in Tripoli. Well, it'll go to Naples to Taranto to Tripoli. And then we could place a Greek unit, but I think we have to prioritize placing Finns. So there we go. That is it for replacements and the seasonal phase. Next up, political events. As you can see, there were none on the card. We have the support segment. That unit will go home. This unit goes home. We're going to go ahead and redeploy the Italian supply convoy. And we will place the German convoy on its troop side. During the organization segment, this unit here is not allowed to organize. We might actually put it on a multi-step or convert it to a multi-step unit down the road, because then we could even maybe put another step there if we really need to. Or if we want to try and, run a little slipshod counterattack to kick the British out of Norway. I don't think we'll ever get an opportunity to do that, though. We just have too many demands on our support units and steps on the Eastern Front now. Anyway, that is it for convoys. We do have to place support unit and a blitz marker. What about submarines? Do we have submarine placement? Now we have 2 of them. One of them gets intercepted for sure by the interceptor. Do the Allies want to expend one of their other support units? They might expend an air force because they're not using it for anything else right now. It's bad weather, or coming into bad weather, everywhere outside of the desert zone. So maybe they don't need an air force. I think they're probably fine. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just wait until there's an opportunity to use the subfleets. I don't think there is right now. They don't need to place the scratch convoy. So we have to place these we have to place this air force, and I think we can just put it right there. And a blitz marker can go there. And that's that for the support segment. Next up, organization. Once again, we'll leave these units to organize once they're closer to the front. There is no other organization that needs to take place at the moment. Correction. There is that. This unit can't organize. It's not supplied. So that brings us to operational movement. First things first, let's sort out our Western Front situation here. Half, 1, half, 2, half, half, 1, half, 2, half, 3, half, 4. This unit will shuttle all the way up to Narvik. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 3, half. Half, 1, half. Oh, that's just as well. I didn't see we had a gap in Krakow. So that's fine. Sort this out down here first. Half 1, half 2. No units to move down here, even though we're in supply. I suppose if we get a chance to build out a Greek steppe, we might put it into Beirut and eventually Damascus and have the Greeks occupy Syria so that these Italian steppes, which we'll have to break down, can shuttle back to Italy, where they're likely to be more badly needed, or even used here in Egypt. Either way, probably a more efficient use of steppes if we can manage it that way. Now, what are we doing on the main front? We want to get 36 factors attacking somewhere. Or 36 factors attacking each of these hexes. Because that way we'll be able to reduce both of them during blitz combat, and then the follow-up regular combat. So in the north we have 6, 12, 16, 24, 32. So we do need at least 4 more factors, which I think is going to have to come from that. And then here we have 12, 20. Ooh, I have to send that Air Force back. 22, 30, 34. Excuse me. Where was I here? I lost track. That's 12, 22, 30, 34, 36 factors. Okay, so all these units here are enough for this hex. These German units plus these unit are going to be enough for that hex. And that will allow us to completely reduce this pocket this turn before the weather turns bad. So that unit can go there. This unit can go here. That can go there. This can go here. That can go here. We're going to actually place the blitz marker. That's still fine because these units can just go there. Let's double check our blitz area. That unit goes there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's fine. 1, 2, 1. We can do that and that. And that's fine. Now, what are we doing down here? We won't have an attack on this hex with 9 factors defending, but maybe we can attack Odessa. We're not going to be able to get around between the river here and the river here and the river there. We'd be attacking right across the river here, which would give us 10, 16, because 6th Army can march 1, 2, 3 once I've opened the way with one of these other armies. 20 factors attacking 3. We can make it 21 factors attacking 3. That's 7 to 1. So 20 factors attacking 3 is no different. There would be quite a few column shifts. Fort, city, river puts us in the 2 to 1 column, and then we'd be in the 3 to 1 column with the HQ. That would be a good way to make sure we are... That would be a good reason, excuse me, to have the Yugoslavs participate, because then there's a chance if we take losses that it'll be a Yugoslav unit. Which feels a bit cheap. There's actually an optional rule to prevent exactly that sort of thing. But there you go. Let's go ahead and do some movement then. 1, 1, 2, 1, and that will use up that unit's entire movement. One of these units will move in there so the HQ isn't sitting by itself, and one of them will just shuffle up there. That is it for operational movement. That brings us to blitz combat. First up, let's attack Hex 3706 Pinsk. 9 factors defending. We have 8, 16, 24, 30, 34, 40 factors attacking. A little bit of overkill, but what are you going to do? I suppose we could add the Hungarians for the same reason, but it's not going to matter because there are panzers attacking, so panzers will have to be the first loss, so it doesn't really matter in this case. 40 factors attacking, 9 is the 4-to-1 column. We have a shift for terrain and a shift for the fort. That brings us down to the 2-to-1 column. There's a shift for Air Force, a shift for HQ, and a shift for armor. That brings us into the 6-1-8-1 column. Excuse me. A 6. Well, that's a little unfortunate. DR1, 1-1. So that's 2 Russian step losses because they have no retreat path, and 1 panzer step loss. Good thing we have the spare panzer step coming up. Actually, let's flip one closer to where reinforcements are. All right. Now we have this combat. First Army with 5 factors is attacking. 10, 12, 18, 22, 30, 36 factors exactly. 4-to-1. This time, there's only 1 shift for the fort, and then 3 shifts, so we're in the 9-to-1 column. Also a 6. Well, that's a little unfortunate. That's the only result that generates casualties for Germany on that table. DR211. So we've already taken care of the German casualty. So that's our DR2 and 1 step loss. Bit of an expensive venture clearing out this pocket, but I think it'll still be worth it. That's the end of blitz combat. We move on to regular combat. So we'll just go ahead and do those 2 hexes first, and then we'll attack Odessa. I think it's worthwhile attacking Odessa, even in the rather lower column, because if we get enough losses, or if we inflict enough losses, then we're going to end up occupying Odessa right away. It just saves us a little time getting ready to attack this hex. So there are now 6 factors defending Pinsk. We have 8 and 8, 16, 20, 26 factors. I guess if we can get to 36 factors attacking, we'll be in a higher column, which we need to be. So let's recount that. 16, 20, 26, plus 6 is 32, plus 7 is 37, so that puts us in the 6-to-1 column. There are 2 defensive shifts for 3-to-1, and then 2 offensive shifts, so we're still in the 6-1, 8-1 column. There's unfortunately a decent chance that, I think a very decent chance, there's only a 1 in 6 chance, I think, that the Germans will clean the hex out. On the other hand, they'll be able to clear that hex out even in the bad weather coming up. So it'll be fine. A 5. That unfortunately is also a step loss, DR112. So very expensive. The terrain is definitely really helping the Russians here because it kept the Germans out of the 9-to-1 column. This combat here in E3 607 has 3 factors defending. So we can probably go ahead and attack without the panzers. That's going to be 6, 10, 16, plus another 10 is 26, to 3 is 9 to 1. Oh, no, it's not actually. It's only 8 to 1. But that's probably still okay because there's one column shift for the fort and then a shift for HQ and a shift for Air Force. So 9 to 1 after all. And no panzers, which we will try and remember. By the way, there was an error last video where the Germans did some exploitation they weren't supposed to do. It didn't really matter because it didn't change how they were going to end up deploying during this turn, and it wouldn't have prevented them from deploying this way either. Get the hex number. Another 6. Well, this has been an extremely expensive combat for Germany. Did we remember to take our step loss after last combat down here? We did not. Okay, so that was the step loss from last combat. And now they have to take another step loss. This time it can be an infantry because the panzers did not take part. And then these units are all gone. And we don't really need to walk into that hex, although I guess we will, so that we can attack later in the mud. Alright, so do we still want to attack here given these die rolls? 7, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 factors attacking 3. I think we'll go ahead. So we know that's in the 6181 column. There's an offensive shift for HQ, and then a defensive shift for city, a defensive shift for fort, and a defensive shift for river. So 3 to 1. 3 to 1 versus Odessa. The 3. DR1, 0, 0. They actually would have rather taken a step loss with a 1 higher result in order to clear the hex. That's too bad. Nothing doing. And at any rate, it's nice to have a combat result where the Germans don't take losses. That is it for combat. During the marker segment, we will remove the blitz marker, which we probably won't really be able to use, although we might get a chance to attack Dnepropetrovsk, even in the mud if it's not well defended. And if we do, there will be the bad weather. Even with the bad weather, we can force the Russians to retreat if there's the blitz marker in the city. Also during the marker segment, this is going to go back here. Not that that means much because we don't have any more units we want to shuttle over. That brings us to reserve movement. We're going to go ahead and go half, 1, half, 2, half, and now that unit is ready to shuttle across. Is there a way to threaten Dnepropetrovsk early on? Or maybe we just want to be able to loop around and attack Odessa. That's going to be hard because of the mud. It's going to stop us up. So that unit will go there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Let's do... What are we going to do here? This is going to be half, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. We definitely want to get in there rather than let the Soviets place reinforcements in Kiev. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. I don't think we're worried about an attack. That would... Well, actually, we are not worried about an attack because these units... Oh no, one of them would be able to get over to attack. And we're not worried about a 3 versus 4 attack when the defending unit has a column shift. That would be a disastrous combat for the Red Army. Half, and then it's going to be 2, 3. Because moving through Russian hexes, during reserve movement, the Germans are not getting the discount because this is an active enemy country. That is it for reserve movement. Almost. Half one. That is it for reserve movement. And that is the Axis faction turn. Quite a bit shorter than the summer, isn't it? Even with a fair bit of attacking going on. This definitely feels like the turn where the Soviet fort lines really have done their job in terms of inflicting German steppe losses. Doesn't it? It's now the Western faction turn. They're going to reveal Operation Crusader. They add a unit to the delay box. Where is that? That's this 8th Army here. And what are they picking as their pending card? We have planned to play Arcadia Conference. So most of the rest of their cards are going to be kind of on a timer here. So this is their 1944 card play. They're definitely playing Arsenal of Democracy in the summer once they meet the selection requirement, U.S. Postures War. Operation Torch is a couple years late, but on sort of the historical timetable in terms of being the winter after U.S. entry into the war. In the spring, we are going to have to play Trident Conference because of the Western Pacific War. We're expecting to play Husky and Avalanche during the summer and autumn in order to finish Italy. And then we would play Eureka Conference. We might choose to play Roundup instead of Operation Husky, even though we're going to get fewer American steps, because that is going to let us play Sextant Conference because we'll have removed the Western Pacific War marker. Right now we have, with our upcoming card, Arcadia Conference, and with Trident Conference, we have two possible chances to get Pacific Commitment, and another one on the way. That could result in a couple of units getting sent off to the Pacific War that we don't want to have. So Roundup might be valuable to get them back. I think we're going to definitely have to play both of those cards because of how the situation is looking on the board. So I don't see any option to, say, play intensive bombing. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle some of these out of the way so that we can make more room over here for our cards. So the next year would be the equivalent of game year 1944. We have Operation Shingle in the spring, Overlord in the autumn, Market Garden in the, Shingle in the spring, Overlord in the summer, Market Garden in the autumn, and then Magneto Conference or maybe Cricket Conference if we have removed the Pacific War marker. And finally, we'll say Operation Eclipse for the last season of the war. So there we go. The Western faction knows what it's doing for here for the rest of the game. Pretty neat, eh? That's the end of the option cards segment. They have replacements, British, 1 armor, and 1 infantry step. That goes there. No colonial units to place, so we'll just go ahead and schlep one of these infantry here. I'm not sure if we want to send maybe some infantry down here. Once 8th Army's on the board, we're going to be a little bit short of infantry steps that, we can chain along for keeping ports open or something. We're going to maybe have to start leaving some of these 1-2-2 units in reserve to place as detachments. particularly if we're able to take out Libya. We want to at least make sure that Tobruk and Tripoli have detachments or units in them at all times, so the Italians can't just place their colonial step there. All right, and they have an armor step to place. And I suppose we want to keep some armor steps, either if we really want to try and send it to Norway, we can, and if not, it's there to eventually invade France down the road. With this much commitment of Germans to Norway, I don't know that we really want to try and keep fighting. We might actually leave Norway and just stock up our units for future offensives somewhere else. We'll see how that goes. That is replacements and the end of the Western seasonal phase. During the sports segment, this unit goes home. And that's it. Where are they going to send units? We don't need supply convoy because we have the inherent convoy. We don't need supply convoy. We could shuttle a unit to Malta. Maybe we will, to create a threat in being. Although, at this point the Axis have already defended Sicily pretty strongly. As we say, maybe we want some infantry to chain down in Africa, so we'll just place a troop convoy here, I guess. That is it for the support segment. Unless maybe we want to attack Sardinia. Can we? The Italian Navy is not back yet, so the Italians cannot contest a placement. The Germans have no units available to create an air base, so they can't contest the placement. So now might be the time to do that while the iron is kind of hot here. So yeah, actually let's go ahead and do that. We're going to put a convoy here, and we will place a surface fleet there, since it cannot be contested. We get to put down a beachhead. The surface fleet goes here, and this will get, that goes there. And on the off chance that we have some problems fighting in Tunisia, we have air bases sort of around Italy, and we can walk into Corsica if we have to, and present maybe even an invasion threat into northern Italy. That is it for the sports segment. No organization. So next up, we have operational movement. This unit will go ahead and can't do that actually. It can go to the beachhead. And this unit's going to go ahead to the West Africa box. Do we have any other operational movement? No. We did want this to be on its fort side, just in case. During marker segment, that goes there. This goes here. We do have a blitz marker, but there's no reason to put it anywhere. This unit, if we could have put the blitz marker here, and then this could have advanced into Cagliari during the blitz combat segment, but, well, what's the point? During reserve movement, this unit can go there. And that is it. Well, not quite, because we are also going to move this unit into the box there. That's reserve movement for the Western faction, and that is the Western faction turn. Play proceeds to the Soviet faction. They reveal their new current card, Relocate War Industries. Option card segment, remove one Production Directorate card. If you have played DS Card 6, you must remove the same Production Directorate from your TK deck that you removed from your DS deck. Well, we don't have to worry about that, do we? We just have to remove a card. Are we getting rid of Heavy Bombers, Red Air Force, or Factory Production? Well, I think we definitely want to keep the Red Air Force. So the question is, would we rather potentially impose delay modifier on the Germans every so often, or even get to place a devastation marker? Or do we want to get a permanent -1 modifier to our own delay rolls? Unlike the Western faction and Germans, who really do depend on their delay rolls because of all their multi-step units with delay stripes and their support units, we don't have a lot of support units, right? We only have the 2 air forces right now, and we're not getting very many more. Our only other units with delay stripes are HQs, basically. And once the summer 42 offensive is over, we're not likely to lose too many of them. So we could get away without a delay modifier. I think I do like having a negative delay roll modifier. It's nice, but I think I like the bombers better. So we'll go ahead and get rid of Production Directorate, card 41. And we have Delay Box. This is card 25. Those go to the Delay Box. Now we have to pick a pending card. Because we do not have a Pacific War marker, we may now choose card 26B, Siberian Reserves. Released. And let's move a few of these around so that we can, would you mind? There we go. Make room for our own card planning now that we know what's going on with the Pacific War. So, next summer, next spring, we pretty much have to play that. That is a requirement for all of our offensives because it's the requirement for our first offensive. We have to play that during the summer. We don't have to, but I think we want to. We will play Red Air Force in the autumn. And then Aranos Offensive in the winter. We could play it in the autumn, but then we have that mud turn, whereas we're actually pretty good at fighting in the snow, so we may as well take full advantage. Next up, in the spring, we're going to want to play Rumyantsev Reserves formed in the spring, and Rumyantsev Offensive in the summer. And then why don't we play the Heavy Bombers then? And what are we going to do in the winter? Well, we're going to play, let's just move those out of the way. We're going to play that in the spring and that in the summer. And then we're going to want to play Red Banner Offensive next spring. So we have to play Red Banner Reserves next winter. So I guess we are going to just play Total War Production a couple times in here and there. And we will place Total War Production there when the time comes. So now we know what we're playing for the rest of the war. And now we've got some replacements, haven't we? 1 tank and 21 infantry steps. And then we have to roll in the conference table for a political event. Not bad. So where are we placing these steps? we're not looking too bad up in the north. We seem to have successfully stymied the German offensive in the north. We might eventually swap out some of these tank units for infantry ones, because we might disassemble the tanks and use those steps to build up some of our better tank units later. Although there's no great rush to do that. We do have a pretty serious defensive gap here in the south. If we didn't do anything about this situation, the Germans would very quickly run through the rest of Ukraine and the what's called the Donbass region in this game. What do we want to do? Well, 21 infantry steps. I think that's good for a couple of infantry here, so we can eventually form up an HQ. We want an armor step there to defend, help defend, although we should be able to reach there actually with infantry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're going to run out of infantry, aren't we? We said 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And we have completely tapped out of infantry. Go ahead and put one of those there, and that is it. We have tapped out of units. All right. Well, that's the best we can do. Organization. We will go ahead and do a little of that. I think that's it. Next up, operational movement. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, we forgot to oh no, we didn't forget to organize units. 1, 2, half, 1, half, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I think that's it. Now we'll just move those out of the way for eventual building of an HQ. When we finally have another Russian HQ to build. That is it for operational movement. There are no attacks, as you might imagine. Let's go ahead with reserve movement. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. That'll go there. 1, 2. That will go there. And that is it for that. That's the Soviet turn. A lot of steps, although it kind of feels like they just made good on their losses from over the summer, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like they're going to be in a position to launch a solid attack over the winter. They're actually not likely to lose enough steps to make full use of their next card. Although they are going to get those shock armies, which is nice. Although they're not going to be able to use the shock armies right away. I don't think. No, they will because they add them to the force pool. Well, that's great. Never mind. I have forgotten about the Soviet political event. Silly me. Conference table. 2 becomes 4 because of the political diral modifier. That's conflicting plans, no result. Well, it didn't matter that I forgot it because nothing happened. Play proceeds back to the Axis faction after we do. Excuse me. Delay rules. There is now a -2 modifier to Axis. Oh, there we go. A -2 modifier to Axis delay rules. 1 becomes 1. They don't really need that then, but that's fine. Three. 1, 2, 3. That reminds me, this unit actually should be here because it had a delay roll of 5 a couple turns back. Or a turn ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sure it was the June-July turn, though. I'd have to go back and check the previous video, but I'm pretty sure this should be there. And finally, we have the Soviets. So they have 3 HQs and a fort. So the 3 HQs, 2, 6, and 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2. Well, that's convenient. Getting those then, we might actually get to use one of them on the attack over the winter. But maybe not. 3. And that is it for that. So those will go back to the force pool. It is now September, October. Mud in the north. Let's just triple check all our units are organized. Yep. So now it is the Axis faction turn again. No political event. Support segment. That goes home. This goes home. We may as well not bother with that though because this is going to go right out. And that goes home. Let's go ahead and place the German troop convoy here on its troop convoy side. Organization. Let's go ahead and reorganize those panzers. And let's go ahead and organize 17th Army. What do we have next? Operational movement. What are we doing for operational movement? We'll go ahead and do that. I think that's fine. These units are all stuck because of the fort and its zone of control. That unit will do that. Those units are fine. We have forgotten to organize that, which we will now do. Everything over here is fine. This unit will shuttle across to Helsinki. We actually forgot to do some movement with the Finns earlier, but I don't think it matters. I suppose we could send a Finnish unit across to the main front and attack here. And we might eventually do that. For now, I think this will be fine. Actually, yeah. Would that be better? We're not likely to get an attack on Leningrad at this point. I think it's pretty hard to get a good attack on Leningrad, and we're more likely to be able to get good attacks on Rostov and Sevastopol if we're going to attack anywhere. We would just have to like kill that and then get a whole bunch of units up here and not make any progress down here. I'm not sure that's what we want to do. So, we will not do that. That unit can wait there, though, for Finns, maybe. Although maybe I shouldn't sit in my reinforcement location. Half, 1, half, 2, 3, 4, I guess. That can go there. This unit has to sit there because of the mud. And that is operational movement. Do we have any reserve movement? Oh, not reserve movement. We do have combat. We don't have any combat down here. The weather is terrible. So we have a combat here. It's going to be... Let's avoid attacking with the tanks. We'll have 6, 12, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 27 factors attacking 1. That's easily 9 to 1. We'll add in the Hungarians for loss taker. So it's 9 to 1. We have an odd shift for the terrain, an odd shift for the fort, and an odd shift for the weather brings us to 3 to 1, and an odd shift for the HQ brings us to 4 to 1. So there we are. That's 3706. A 4. DR1, 1, 1. That's done. But we take a step loss. It's 3 step losses to clear that hex out. Pretty good for the Soviets. And what do we want to do here? We probably want panzers for the offensive, so those two will shuffle in there. And that will be that for combat. That brings us to reserve movement. They'll go here. They'll go here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. One of those is fully stacked, so we can't double stack it. I guess we can go there. That'll be fine. And that is it for Axis reserve movement. Yep, that's their turn. Next up, Western faction. Western faction has to return convoys. That goes to the delay box. That goes back to the force pool. Let's just rotate it. What are they going to do? We could shuttle a unit into Cagliari. Although we are running out of steps. We could send it from Scapa Flow. Yeah, maybe we just start bringing units home from Norway. It's going to be really a big commitment. We'd have to bring in some Americans to fight here. And if we're not going to attack, there's no sense just sitting here. We might like leave the BF step and the defense unit as on its Portafort side in Stavanger just to keep the Germans honest, because then we can always like shuttle some units back if they leave. So we'll go ahead and break during organization segment. No, we should still do support segment. Where are we here? We are still in the support segment. This unit can go here, and that can go here. And actually, let's not bother with that one. That's fine. During the organization segment, this unit goes there. We'll flip over. We have to put a unit down. And that brings us to operational movement. There's not actually much point doing that because the units can't leave the German Zoc, so we won't bother with that. So this unit will leave Scapa Flow and just shuttle on down to here, I guess. That unit will do that. Oh, it was already on its Portafort side. Didn't even notice. Silly me. Well, that's it. Not really much to do here in the mud. That will go back during the markers segment. That's it. Okay, well, that's the Western faction turn. Really productive turn, isn't it? Soviet faction, they have their conference table roll. Again, there's a +2 Darrow modifier. 5 becomes 6 is military aid. Is there anything we can take advantage? There is. We can move some of those forts, although I don't know why we would. We can move that there. That's all we can do. Not super useful, because of course it's going to be handy to have during the summer, but not really during the previous spring muddy turn. I think we would have rather got neutrals pressured as our final result, but there we go. Right, we do want some Allied influence marker in Sweden, as well as Spain. Next up, we have organization. And then operational movement. I guess we can just do that. We should probably leave a unit here just in case the Finns get ornery and decide they want to get lucky. That can go here. That will stay there. That will stay there. These units will stay here. And I think that's it then. Yep, that's Soviet operational movement. They have no reserve movement. So that's their turn. Not really a whole lot going on, is there? We have some delay rolls. Four becomes 2. Three. 1, 2, 3. 2. That is it for that. Do we have any organizing to do? We do have a little organizing to do. In the Soviet force pool, we have all our new HQs. So where have we been putting these? I'm just going to put that back in the force pool. That's there. So those go there. And that's it. So that is it for the autumn season. Next up, winter season. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll hope to see you next time.